UCLA and USC are now part of the Midwest United States. Also, we got no food, we got no jobs, and our pets' heads are falling off. What is happening in college football? We're going to talk about that on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Locked On Bulldogs, here on Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, part of Locked On Atlanta. If you are new to us, it's talking season, so a lot of you are trying to find content. And so if you're a Florida, Alabama, Auburn fan, which, by the way, Auburn, come back tomorrow, we'll be here for you because I got some things to say.
There are not any Auburn fans out there, right, Clint? They're not. There can't be. Be serious.
Brian Harsin.
Did they watch?
He's got the Gus bus. I mean the Harsin bus. I mean the tank. I mean the Bo bus. I forget who's piloting all these buses, but they're heading in the right direction. Daniel is what I hear.
No, that's just running an up and up program over there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey, we're Locked On Bulldogs, your team every single day. We're talking season as the offseason always is. So we're glad you're here. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment, review. If you're over on the audio side, subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating over there. Today, Daniel. Oh, also follow us on Twitter, Dawgs Podcast right below. Sure. If you're on YouTube, you can see it right there. Interact with us there. Daniel, as you teased at the opening, the NIL is wreaking havoc on college football. And now the Midwest just apparently Escape from LA was a true documentary where just the West Coast is falling into the ocean and people are fleeing the mass earthquakes. And apparently USC and UCLA are part of the Midwest, in which
I haven't heard an update if they're going to move the campuses to somewhere in Iowa, but I imagine that they will at some point.
The great rolling hills of Iowa, by the way, just as picturesque as that Rose Bowl in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains. Just as picturesque. I could tell you. I could tell you. Right. Oh no. We're going to talk about that, what it means for Georgia, what it means for college football, and if you and I have a remedy for what is happening, because it seems like this is what's going to take place. It seems like the collision course is set, Daniel. The Big Ten and the SEC are the only two conferences standing in the end of 2 seasons, 3 seasons, as more and more people, as the alliance of the ACC, the Pac-12, and all bust up, and there's no more alliances anymore, and the NIL continues to make kids pick schools that are not good. I got some stats on what that means. Texas, I'm looking at you, Texas A&M, USC. As kids continue to make this choice, it seems like, is this the natural course we're going towards, Daniel? Is the first question we want to know. Are we heading towards 2 super conferences in college football?
Yeah, it seems that way, but I will just remind everyone that when expansion talks started, the first go around, and you had your Texas A&Ms and your Missouris, and you had the Big Ten going to divisions. I don't know if you recall, but what year? I mean, I don't know what year was that? It was like 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. If you recall, the big topic of conversation was the Big 12 is not going to survive. The Correct. Big 12 is about to be defunct. They just had Texas A&M and Missouri break away. Nebraska left the Big 12, went to the Big 10. And so you had all these rumblings of like, there's only 10 teams. The Big 12 had to pull in some like smaller, lesser teams and make them a part of the conference. And so you had 10 teams in the Big 12, obviously 12 teams in the Big 10, and everything started to get weird in college football. And there was all this talk of like, well, the Big 12 is not going to make it. They're not going to survive. Right. And then for 5 years, everything basically looked relatively normal. The Big 12 sent representatives to the college football playoff at various times. They had teams that were relevant, in the national landscape of college football, teams like Oklahoma and to a lesser extent, Oklahoma State and Baylor last year. So they still had a lot of relevance to college football. And so I would say sometimes in talking season, especially, overreactions abound. And so I would maybe just say to like everyone, does it seem like things are headed towards these two super conferences? Absolutely. But until some big dominoes start falling, like Clemson and Florida State and the ACC and potentially even a league like the Pac-12, they're going to have to totally reboot. But even a league like the Pac-12 is able to function and still stay around and still be relevant in college football.
That's right. Oregon, Oregon State, Washington, Washington State. These are, I mean, they're not the greatest teams, but they still have pull. They still have sway. Oregon State's coming up on the world. They got some coaching. I think the same thing. And here's the second thing I'm gonna reference. Remember when Major League Baseball couldn't get a contract done because people were griping over money and where it was going, yada, yada, yada. And then there was this offhanded comment by a senator in the hallways of the chambers. And somebody asked him, hey, there seems to be nothing anybody can agree on in politics these days whatsoever. And he says, I don't know about that. We might be able to look at the antitrust exemption for MLB. And then he just stared at the camera. And then you know what? Wouldn't you know it? A couple days later, Daniel, you know what had struck a deal? Major League Baseball and the Players Association said, no, we got a deal. No, we're fine.
Look, we're fine. Don't look at us anymore.
Fine. No. See, right now, eyes are on college football and Texas A&M. And when that video coming out about another coach saying, we're going to get you that dollar bill up in the suites, which, by the way, my gosh, how stupid are you, Jimbo? Like, I know the answer, by the way.
He didn't care.
No,
he didn't
more
care.
eyes
Jimbo
are on college
eats crab legs for dinner every night and laughs about it. He eats. That's not.
More eyes are on college football. And guess what? This just in. More are coming. And when eyes get on, people start poking around, and all of a sudden, you don't want to know how the sausage is made, and some weird things are going to happen. I think it is kind of too big to fail, not to use that term so soon after everything going on. But I think college football has eyes on it. When people keep on investigating, I think they're going to clean it up. They're going to get their act together. They're going to start regulating it a little bit more. I don't think we're going to blow it up as has been. There's too much tradition for people, too much love of it. I don't think we're going to go to two super conferences. Let's calm down. Let's see how the chips lay. This is new. This is fresh. Regulation is coming with NIL. It is, guys, regulation is coming.
It is.
So
it is.
Let's wait until that happens.
People will be all up in arms about the regulation. I don't know. Jay Billis will be tweeting about how the people that are in charge of regulating it have no business regulating it in the way that they're regulating. Whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're still going to have college football. At the end of the day, there's still going to be. And so, you asked, what can we do to fix it? That's where I want to go next segment. And then third segment, let's talk about what it means for Georgia and football that we love. But let's talk about what we can do to fix this, what college football can do, what we want to see done to fix it right after we come back. First, Clint's going to tell you about this.
We got a new sponsor. It's LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is your place to go if you need hire somebody, which, by the way, a lot of people need hiring right now. If you are a small business that is back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier, grows your team. It helps you find the people you want to interview faster and for free. You can create a job and post it in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond. The world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. My gosh, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
I think that's
almost as many people as listen to this podcast.
Nearly there. We
almost.
have a lot of people. Then add your job and the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skill sets and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know each week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
If the question that we're asking is what can we do to fix college football because of all of this, first of all, the NIL, I don't know, you said it already. Regulations are going to come. You're going to have things that are going to be put into place. That's all whatever. But if you're talking about this realignment and these, mega conferences, the end of conferences as we know it and whatever, I like college football tradition. I would put myself kind of right in the middle of the road when it comes to college football traditionalist. I am not an ultra traditionalist. All right. I do not celebrate my team's bowl victories as if they matter in the grand scheme of things because they do not.
We only celebrate national championships here, Daniel.
That's right. Did we win one of those in the last 40 years, Clint?
Got one.
We did. Okay. So we put that to bed. We pretty much stopped talking about that. That's what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe. But when I look at this college football is broken narrative, I would say to that, what can we do to fix it? I don't know that it needs fixing. You tell me, play devil's advocate. You tell me what's different about college football with USC and UCLA in the Big Ten. What's different about college football with Florida State and Clemson in the SEC and the ACC blowing up and going away? Here's what's different about college football. Good teams are going to play good teams more often.
There it is.
My television is going to show me interesting football more times per week.
All year long.
Wait for it.
Okay.
At the end of the year, the 4, 6, 8, 12, 16 most deserving teams, as voted on by a committee, regardless of conference championship, wait for it, the way it's always been done since the advent of the college football playoff. Always. Those teams are going to make it into the playoff and have a chance to play for a national championship. Are there going to be as many undefeated teams? Probably not. Does that matter? No, it does not. Is this the NFL 2.0? This is the narrative I keep hearing. College football is turning into the NFL, which I don't know. I could not disagree with that more. The NFL has these things called divisions. And if you win your division, you make the playoffs even if you stink.
Yes, sir.
Like the NFC East, for example, champion gets to go to the playoffs every year.
Ooh, how rough is that?
It's rough because sometimes the Giants are sitting there at 8-8 and they make the playoffs and then they win the Super Bowl, Clint. So this is not turning into the NFL. In college, good teams are going to play good teams. And listen, not because of your record, not because of your conference championship, not because of any of that. But at the end of the year, a committee is going to vote. They're going to look at your resume and they're going to decide who deserves to be in and who deserves to be out. And people are going to argue about it. And that's the beauty of sports. And the good teams are going to get a chance to play for the national championship, Clint. You tell me how that's bad.
Well, here, the only thing that's bad, and I'm going to say this next part, not like I know better, because actually there are people out there in the world who think they know better and who are encouraging young children who are becoming men to do stupid decisions. I'm going to show you something of why this mega conferences and the NIL won't affect college football, because college football, to your point, is going to keep on going. And the powers that be, the committee, by the way, I think is going to have a more dutiful role in the future. Because to get those teams in, it's not going to be a clear-ish path. It's going to be more vague, and they're going to have to do the eyeball test of, no. Hey, this record in these teams, we know they get in. So I do think that is true. But Daniel, I want to go to a couple teams, Texas and USC. Let's talk USC first because, well, they were notably in this conversation. I want to talk about the NIL and making kids choose $1 million for 1 year to go to a school, as opposed to getting developed and turning into a Channing Tindall who all of a sudden is pushing for starting playing time. A kid.
Is that worth $1 million, Clint? Or is that worth more or less than $1 million? Or is it more
to get a guaranteed contract and guaranteed league minimum and health care and more than the $1 million over a lifetime, even if you are at league minimum? a backup quarterback. Look, Chase Daniels is going to make over $40 million this coming year for his lifetime totals, and he just hasn't done anything in the NFL. Here, let me try to show you this. USC 2017 football commits. They were the fourth overall class, and these are some of the commits that happened there. Buddha Bolden was a 4-star. He is now a graduate at Miami. He ain't playing. No. Joseph Lewis, who was part of that class 4-star kid, recorded 3 games played. Stephen Carr is a redshirt senior. He is now at Indiana. And his last year at USC, oh gosh, it's just, he played 1 year, 6 games at USC. I can go down the list more and more of USC. Let me go to Texas really quick. 2018, Texas commits. Caden Stearns is on an NFL team. He's playing safety for the Denver Broncos. He was a 5-star 19 national. BJ Foster, Sam Houston. Transferred to Sam Houston. Jalen Green, senior at Mississippi State, 4-star kid. Demarion Overshone is a graduate at Texas. Nothing to his name over there. I could go on and on and on. I can go recruiting class, and I can go up and down the list. And you could see USC and Texas, who hasn't done anything in college football in years. And I can go stock of drafted players, and I can talk about their salaries. And here's what I think is wrong with this system and that people are capitalizing on. They're taking advantage. And what would need to change, Daniel, here's what would need to change. Yeah. And here's what's wild. Nobody likes to do this. And I'm going to use a term that is going to piss some people off. And then I'm going to try to change the term. If these 18, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids were able to talk to some sort of agent, some sort of financial fiduciary who could sit down with them and show them, Steve Sarkisian might be able to promise you a lot of brisket and $1 million for 1 year. But Steve Sark has not had anybody in the NFL of note in many, 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 many years. And he keeps on getting kids to come play with him, selling them goods that cannot be deposited. That would change what's happening, because a whole lot of kids are making business decisions that aren't smart, Daniel, that are sacrificing their long-term goals. And they're not being developed, and they're not doing it. That's the one thing. So again, I don't know. You might not like the word agent. Fine, change the term. I don't know. That's why I said fiduciary. Oversight committee for college football kids at each school, put on by the NCAA, that does nothing, that is worthless. Give these kids educational resources to make wise decisions on money and NIL and how to leverage business, as well as develop their later term goals for a career. And it's different. It is so fundamentally different. Every other job industry has this. And I'm going to say a word, maybe you don't like this, but like unions do that for people who are very, very skilled at their craft. They collectively bargain, and they get oversight, and they make sure everybody is not. Again, you might not like it, but these are some of the solutions to all the problems that people keep on raising to me.
If corporate even gets a whiff of unionization in this branch, they will shut everything down. They tried to unionize in Pittsfield, and we all saw what happened in Pittsfield. All right, we're coming right back. Let's talk about what it means for Georgia and why Georgia is different than some of those schools, USC and Texas, that Clint was just mentioning, and why actually all that stuff that you just said, Clint, I'm going to try to take it and grab onto it and spin it around and turn it into some really good news for the University of Georgia.
There it is.
We'll come right back for that. First, I'm going to talk to you about BetOnline. They are your online sportsbook experts. And do you remember a time when the Braves were 1 million games back in the National League East, Clint? They were
NL East is over. It
was over,
Daniel.
SYSNY or whatever the name of that network is. I don't know.
Is it?
Something.
Is it?
Something. It isn't. If you placed a wager at BetOnline, this is what I'm getting at. You see what I'm getting at? If you placed a wager for the Braves to win the NL East at BetOnline, way back then when the Mets had like a 12, 15 game lead, boy, you are looking pretty optimistically at your account right now over at BetOnline. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts, they got everything that you need. You want to bet on golf, you want to bet on tennis, you want to bet on by the way, did you see You see the guy that came after, speaking of tennis, you see the guy that came after in the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open tennis account just went straight savage on this guy. Listen, Twitter is a deplorable, terrible place that you should never spend any time. Well, there's some really funny stuff that happens over there.
It's true.
You want to bet on that tennis? You want to bet on, Wimbledon or whatever as it keeps going. You want to bet on Major League Baseball, aforementioned Major League Baseball, and then football futures are just right around the corner. The NBA Summer League is happening right now, Clint. If you bet on the NBA Summer League, send me a direct message so that I can pray for you by name. That's what I would
guarantee
like to do.
you Dubs is betting on Summer League right now. I guarantee.
BetOnline.net, your online sportsbook expert, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, the only place Clint and I trust. Put in Locked On in the promo code section. You get a welcome bonus on your initial deposit. That's free money with which to bet at betonline.net.
Daniel, you're talking about spinning this to make it good news for Georgia. Why is it good news for Georgia? Everything I just described, the NIL, the development, kids going to schools, getting taken advantage of, $1 million for 1 year as opposed to $3.5 million, $4 million, $5 million over the lifetime of a couple of years of a contract, if not more, with health and bennies and all that. Why is that good news for Georgia, and how does this affect us?
Well, when there's this thing called commitment, Clint. Okay. I don't know if you've heard of it. And when you go to a place because that place offers you money.
Yeah.
And then, wait for it, they give you the money.
Okay.
And that's the reason that you went to the place, was to take the money. And now you have the money. Do you see where I'm going?
What you're saying is the check is cleared. It's in the bank account.
You have it now.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask you.
Well, why would I continue being
you
there
at that place? Why would you be committed to that place?
Did they make it? No, you wouldn't.
Is there anything about college football that requires you to stay at that school?
No,
Are there any rules in place whatsoever that prevent you from transferring anywhere?
They're actually making it easier, Daniel, to do just that.
Well, isn't that something? So all these schools that are getting all these kids by giving them all this money, well, guess what? Once you give them the money, they're just going to turn around and take your money. And that's your money, son.
I have money. I don't have to do anything for it. I have it. It's mine. And
now you leave. Talk to me about Ewers. Sark, talk to me about him.
By the way, he's second time in 2 years. He gone.
He's just going to take your money.
He going to take it.
And he going to leave.
Yes, sir.
Now listen. At Georgia, you're seeing something different. Now, are these Georgia kids getting paid? They are getting paid, Clint. Are these Georgia kids cashing in on some NIL opportunities? Absolutely. These Alabama kids, and we don't want to just talk about Georgia. Let's talk about Alabama. Alabama fans, we know you're here. We know you're listening. Thanks for being loyal third segment listeners to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. Alabama fans, we love you.
We need a T-shirt. Third segment listener.
Third segment listener. Let's talk about these Alabama kids. They're getting paid. They're getting NIL opportunities.
Yes, sir.
But they're not going to these schools for the money, Clint. They're going to these schools for something else. Now, what is that something else? To your point, that is development. That is my future. That is my dream of playing in the NFL. Now, let me ask you, does Nolan Smith have that yet? Does he have that dream yet of being a first-round draft pick in the NFL?
Yes, sir.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have it yet.
He has the dream. He hasn't have it realized yet. He wants it to happen.
That's correct.
He's not there.
And so what's keeping him at Georgia, Clint? What makes him come back and say #unfinished business? I got some more work to do.
Fulfilling that dream.
He hadn't cashed that check yet. You see what I'm trying to say? Do you see what I'm trying to say here?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
When you're a program like Kirby Smart is trying to build, or like Nick Saban, God rest his soul, has already built at Alabama, when you build a program like this that's not relying on crab legs and dirty money in McDonald's bags, you understand? These are real things.
actual
When
things.
you're building a program that's not reliant on those things, but is rather reliant on setting records in the NFL draft, Clint.
There it is.
You're building something that is transfer portal proof. Okay? Now, does Georgia have people that transfer? Yes, everyone does. If you don't get playing time at Georgia, you're going to go. If you don't like where you are, you're going to go. If you're Jermaine Burton and you're just antsy or something or whatever, it doesn't matter. You're going to go. It's fine. People transfer from Georgia, but you don't see unbelievably key players for Georgia. Just saying, like the quarterback of the future at Ohio State. Just say, deuces, I'm out of here. I'm going to head on down to Texas where I can get more money. And then guess what I'm going to do, Texas? I'm going to head out of there. Georgia's building something that is, I think this actually helps them. It sets them apart.
If you listen, by the way, if you listen to parents and those around the program, you listen to Kirby, you listen to every single thing he says. Do you know what kind of encouragement the Nakobe Deans, the Jordan Davises, do you think Jordan Davis was wisely shown what was going to happen to him if he came back for another year and how many millions he would get on top of his guaranteed contract of signing bonus? Do you not think that's what's setting us apart? Sark can go ahead and say, I got guys up in these venues. By the way, he doesn't sound like that because if I got guys up in these venues, Daniel, he can say that now, but he can't say, and follow my track record of guys that I got paid later. He can't say that. Kirby can say, look what I did for all my boys.
Turn on the tape. 3-star Jordan Davis.
Let's go. That is what sets us apart.
How many NIL deals would Jordan Davis have gotten coming out of high school at 3 stars, unknown, nobody wanted him, overweight? I mean, come on.
By the way, how much money does Burton have in NIL deals right now, Daniel? How is he making all those millions?
Is it a lot? Is it several dollars? Is it many dollars?
Okay. Well,
okay.
Cool. Look, guys, we have the solution. His name's Kirby. We have a solution. It's called UGA. We have the solution. We're here. We are NIL proof. We are expansion proof. We're going to be players in this no matter what happens, and regulations coming. Thanks for listening to Locked On Bulldogs here on Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'll be back tomorrow talking about Auburn and how ludicrous their fans are. Come back.
Come on now. We'll see you.